And people get seeing a bullet go into somebody's head and it swell up with no blood. The most up was Aaliyah dying. And all the shit I had to deal with that. You'd be surprised how people act when they think you're hurt.
In a bombshell revelation that has the music world buzzing, Dame Dash, former business partner and close friend of Jay-Z, breaks his silence on a 20-year mystery involving the rap mogul. From the shocking allegations surrounding R. Kelly to the secret marriage to the late Aaliyah, Dash pulls back the curtain on Jay-Z's silence and the dark secrets that have lingered for decades. With explosive claims and untold stories, you will uncover hidden truths behind the music industry's most powerful figures. Are you ready? Let's get started. The story of R. Kelly is one steeped in controversy, betrayal, and the tragic intersection of fame and exploitation. As the first corporately sponsored pedophile, R. Kelly represents a profound failure of accountability, particularly in the music industry that elevated him despite the whispers of his illicit behavior. The uncomfortable truth is that many in the industry, including prominent figures like Jay-Z, were aware of the disturbing rumors surrounding Kelly, yet chose to remain silent. This silence speaks volumes about the complicity of those who could have spoken out, but instead, they preferred to safeguard their careers and financial interests. Jay-Z's swift departure from collaborations with R. Kelly when the allegations became public is telling. For 2 decades, he had been part of the same industry ecosystem, benefiting from Kelly's talent while simultaneously ignoring the red flags. The point of departure for Jay-Z is more than just a professional split. It signifies a moral reckoning, albeit one that comes too late. He knew the implications of what was happening and opted for silence, likely to maintain his own reputation. In stark contrast, Dame Dash, Jay-Z's former business partner, has not hesitated to voice his discontent. His willingness to speak out reveals the fissures in their relationship and underscores the deep-seated betrayals that existed behind the scenes. At the heart of this narrative is Aaliyah, a talent whose life was tragically cut short. Aaliyah and R. Kelly's relationship is often cited as the crux of the scandal. When she was just 15, R. Kelly married her, leveraging his power to exploit a young girl whose potential was limitless. The gravity of this act cannot be understated. It was a betrayal not just of Aaliyah, but of her trust in the adults around her. The profound implications of this relationship cast a long shadow over her legacy, marking her as a tragic figure, almost a sacrificial lamb, who bore the consequences of a corrupt system that allowed such predatory behavior to thrive. Dame Dash has spoken openly about his serious relationship with Aaliyah, sharing insights that paint a picture of a young woman caught in a tumultuous situation. He recalls conversations they had, expressing her apprehension towards R. Kelly, highlighting her awareness of the dark undercurrents surrounding the man who was meant to mentor her. "That's a bad, bad man," she reportedly said, hinting at her understanding of the dangers she faced. Aaliyah's untimely death in a plane crash at just 22 years old shocked the world and left an indelible mark on those who knew her. For Dame, the pain of losing someone he deeply cared for transformed him. The grief changed him fundamentally, warping his perception of loyalty and trust. "It's a pain that you couldn't understand," he said, reflecting on the emotional turmoil that followed her death. He felt betrayed, not only by R. Kelly, but also by Jay-Z, who, in his lowest moments, chose self-preservation over friendship. The ultimate betrayal, as he puts it, is rooted in a profound sense of trust that was shattered. For 2 decades, R. Kelly wielded a level of power and influence that allowed him to evade accountability for his actions, effectively shielding him from the scrutiny that should have been directed toward his troubling behavior. The music industry, enamored with his undeniable talent, failed to investigate the darker undercurrents of his life. It wasn't until the allegations became impossible to ignore that the facade began to crack. The album cover of Aaliyah's debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, is a haunting reminder of the predatory nature of R. Kelly's relationship with the young singer. The title itself was an unsettling nod to the inappropriate dynamics at play, suggesting a cultural acceptance of exploitation masked as artistic expression. Images of R. Kelly sitting back, almost reveling in his role as the peddler of youth, are seared into the memories of those who witnessed the rise of both artists. Even though he was not present during Aaliyah's professional decisions, the impact of that cover and the relationship it symbolizes remains painfully evident. The song they collaborated on, Not Guilty, is another grim reminder of the dissonance between artistic creativity and moral responsibility. Those who have been affected by Aaliyah's story feel a visceral anger toward anyone who continues to align themselves with R. Kelly after knowing what transpired. When discussing his partnership with Jay-Z, the conversation shifts to a complex mixture of nostalgia and disappointment. Together, they founded Roc-A-Fella Records in the 90s, a pivotal moment that redefined the music landscape and propelled both of their careers. Their early successes were monumental, but the lingering question remains: are they still friends? While there's a deep-seated camaraderie rooted in their shared history, Dame Dash acknowledges the rifts that have developed over the years, particularly concerning Jay-Z's business relationships with individuals that conflict with Dash's own principles. "There's been things where he's been in business with people that are against my honor code," Dash reflects, indicating a fundamental shift in their alignment. This shift has necessitated a distance that feels both painful and necessary, a testament to the complexities of friendship in the high-stakes world of music. As the conversation turns to the ongoing revelations about R. Kelly, Dash expresses his shock at how long the singer managed to evade justice. "I was just shocked at how long he got away with it," he states, incredulity tinged with sorrow. The deep sense of betrayal comes not only from the actions of Kelly, but also from the industry's collective silence. The fact that so many people turned and looked the other way is particularly disheartening. Dash's frustration encapsulates the broader cultural failure to protect vulnerable individuals, especially young women in an industry that often exploits them. Before the tumultuous rise and fall of R. Kelly, Dame Dash, and Jay-Z were a powerhouse duo, inseparable as they forged an empire in the music industry. Their partnership was more than just a business relationship. It was a brotherhood rooted in shared experiences, aspirations, and the drive to create something from nothing. "Yeah, I've known Jay-Z for about 10 to 15 years, Dame states, reflecting on their long history together. Their journey began in the streets, where they hustled for survival and built a reputation. In an industry that was often resistant to newcomers, particularly those from their background, Jay-Z faced rejection from various labels. Instead of giving up, they turned their challenges into an opportunity, founding Roc-A-Fella Records. This audacious move marked the beginning of a new chapter, not only for themselves, but also for countless artists who would follow in their footsteps. Together, they crafted a narrative that defied the odds, eventually leading Jay-Z to a lucrative deal with Def Jam. The camaraderie between Jay-Z and Dame was palpable. "You know, we all know we're a family at Roc-A-Fella," Dame emphasizes, underscoring the tight-knit nature of their bond. For him, Jay-Z was not just a business partner, he was his best friend. "Oh, I'm not ashamed to say it. I love you, man." This sentiment is a testament to the emotional investment Dame placed in their relationship and the loyalty that characterized their partnership. They shared victories and setbacks, navigating the often treacherous waters of the music industry side by side. Dame's commitment to Jay-Z went beyond mere business transactions. "I took it more personal than business," he recalls. His fight for Jay-Z's success was deeply intertwined with his loyalty to his friends and brothers. "This is the man that came into corporate offices, and when they were robbing us, he made sure we got what we were supposed to get." This protective nature is a hallmark of their friendship. Dame was fiercely devoted to ensuring that they received the recognition and compensation they deserved. Their bond was built on a foundation of trust and shared struggle, a testament to their resilience in the face of adversity. However, everything shifted when Dame met Aaliyah Houghton. Aaliyah was not just a talented artist, she was a cultural icon and a forward thinker who influenced those around her. She was one of those people that if she did something first, everyone followed suit, Dame reflects, highlighting her magnetic presence and the impact she had on the industry. Aaliyah's approach to music and life challenged the status quo, and her ability to lead by example resonated deeply within the Roc-A-Fella family. In an era when the music and film industries were shifting rapidly, Aaliyah was poised to become a major force, exemplified by the exciting news surrounding her self-titled album and her upcoming roles in The Matrix 2 and The Matrix 3. "Oh my God, congratulations!" her friends would exclaim, recognizing that she was on the cusp of something monumental. "I feel so blessed because everything that I've always wanted is happening to me," Aaliyah reflected, her eyes sparkling with ambition and enthusiasm. She had an infectious energy that drew people in, and her success seemed like a beacon of hope for many aspiring artists. "I just feel like I have so many places to go and so many things to enjoy," she added, hinting at the limitless possibilities that lay ahead. Despite her rising stardom, Aaliyah's essence remained untouched by the cynicism that often accompanies fame. Those close to her admired how she maintained her innocence amid the industry's harsh realities. "I've never seen anyone that was going to affect the world like she did," her friends would often say, recognizing the profound impact she was destined to have. Despite the fact that she went through a lot of bulls, she was still very innocent and not jaded. This purity made her a unique figure in a world often marred by exploitation and betrayal. As she navigated her burgeoning career, Aaliyah developed a close friendship with Dame Dash, a bond that initially stemmed from mutual respect and admiration. Aaliyah could see a different side of Dame, her friends noted, capturing the essence of their connection. They were drawn to one another, and as they spent more time together, their friendship blossomed into something deeper. "Our intention at first wasn't even to be in love. We were just really good friends, and we fell for real," Dame reflected. "It was a relationship that felt almost accidental, a beautiful serendipity amid the chaos of their lives. The initial spark between them ignited during a photo shoot in Los Angeles called the It Girls. My friend Natane brought me to this photo shoot," Dame recounted. "It was there, amidst the glitz and glamour, that they engaged in profound conversations about the evolution of the soul, establishing a connection that transcended the superficial. We developed a real friendship, but it was always apprehension 'cause other people were trying to get at her," Dame explained, hinting at the complexities that often accompanied Aaliyah's rising fame. As their friendship deepened, the undercurrents of jealousy and competition began to surface. "You know, I guess Jay was trying to get at her as well, and I didn't know," Dame admitted. Jay-Z, a close friend of Dame's, had also taken an interest in Aaliyah, sending flowers and courting her in a way that felt both familiar and competitive to Dame. "The rumor originally was that we were connected to Jay," he continued. "Exactly. Jay and I were hanging out a lot. He's my homie. We have a lot of fun together, but we never dated like that. I'ma leave it at that." This candidness reflected the complexities of their intertwined relationships, showcasing how friendship and romance could become blurred in the world of fame. When asked about her personal life, Aaliyah was careful to maintain a sense of privacy. "It's personal life." "That's personal?" She would smile, a hint of playful defiance in her tone. "I don't really discuss it." She understood the challenges of navigating public scrutiny. "It's hard when you're in this business. You become a public figure, you know what I mean? Everything you do belongs to the public, and that's fine. But there are parts that you want to keep for yourself." This insight into her struggles highlighted the delicate balance she had to maintain as a rising star, striving to protect her private life while navigating the relentless attention of the public eye. Dame Dash understood the profound significance of Aaliyah's privacy, particularly given the scrutiny she had faced in her past relationships. The world had been all too eager to discuss her marriage to R. Kelly, a highly publicized and controversial event that saw the hip-hop star marrying his protege when she was just 15 years old. That was a headline. That was something talked about like it was normal, Dame remarked, shaking his head in disbelief at how casually society had treated such an egregious situation. Despite the age difference and the implications of such a union, the marriage had been discussed as if it were just another celebrity scandal, glossing over the reality of what it meant for a young girl to be thrust into such a toxic environment. "Did y'all ever talk about it?" someone asked. Dame hesitated, recalling the weight of those conversations. "We talked about it up to the point where it hurt." As Aaliyah opened up about her experiences with R. Kelly, the darkness of their relationship became painfully clear. Dame and Aaliyah traveled together on the road, spending countless hours in confined spaces like tour buses. "We were out on the road with Aaliyah. On a tour bus, there really aren't any confined spaces," he explained. During one particular moment, they were all lying in their bunks when the bus door suddenly flew open. "What did you see?" they asked him, and Dame's expression turned somber. "Things that an adult should not be doing with a child." This statement encapsulated the gravity of the situation. The innocence of Aaliyah had been compromised, and witnessing the fallout of that relationship weighed heavily on Dame. His fierce loyalty to Aaliyah ignited a protective instinct within him. He was determined to shield her from any further harm, but the complexities of his partnership with Jay-Z added layers of difficulty to their situation. "You ever have beef with R. Kelly while you was with Aaliyah?" he was asked. He shook his head, recalling how Aaliyah wanted to avoid conflict. "She just wanted it left alone," he said, recognizing her desire for peace amidst the chaos of her past. This sentiment highlighted the delicate balance Aaliyah had to maintain as she sought to heal from her traumatic experiences while also navigating her budding romance with Dame. The music industry can be a ruthless place, and Aaliyah felt the pressure from all sides. Dame recalled a moment of tension when Jay-Z was working on videos with R. Kelly. "That's the thing that people would be like. When Jay was doing videos with him, I was supposed to be in the video, but I'd be like, 'Yo, what do you want me to do?'" he said. Aaliyah's response was clear. And she'd be like, "Don't start nothing. Just don't be in no shots with him." Her desire to avoid confrontation reflected her yearning for tranquility, but it also highlighted the emotional turmoil that continued to plague her. Aaliyah's wish to leave the past behind and focus on the present was a testament to her strength. She didn't want to deal with the bulls, Dame explained. It became evident that Aaliyah wanted to carve out a new life, one where she could heal and find happiness without the weight of past trauma hanging over her. "The things that had happened in the past, she told me to leave it alone. I would have to respect her wish no matter what. And her wish was, leave it alone. Let me heal. Let me rest. I'm in love. Let's just enjoy this." In many ways, Aaliyah's relationship with Dame was a breath of fresh air. It allowed her to step away from the shadows of her previous life and embrace the possibility of love and happiness. Dame was fully aware of the importance of honoring Aaliyah's wishes, even if it meant setting aside his own feelings of anger toward R. Kelly. His loyalty to Aaliyah prevailed, as he prioritized her well-being above all else. As the relationship between Dame Dash and Aaliyah blossomed, the connection between them became increasingly evident to everyone around them. Their bond was palpable, a radiant energy that seemed to light up any room they entered. "You know, the thing was she was gone a lot, so the time that we had together, it was like we appreciated it," Dame reflected. Their moments together were rare and precious, filled with laughter and shared dreams. In those stolen moments, they felt like they were in heaven. Nothing from the outside really got in their way, he recalled, a smile creeping onto his face as he thought about how deeply Aaliyah had found happiness in their relationship. And she was so happy. She was so happy. For Aaliyah, this was a transformative time. It marked the first time she truly felt a sense of peace and joy, free from the burdens of her past. For Dame, it was equally impactful. It was like the first kind of time that she had found this kind of peace and happiness, and the same thing for me, he said, his voice tinged with emotion. Dame's journey into love was a revelation for him. I didn't know what being in love was. I didn't even understand what that feeling is, he admitted, recalling how Aaliyah had opened his heart in ways he had never experienced before. I was able to really achieve that with her, so now I know what it feels like. His admission spoke volumes about the depth of their connection, underscoring how Aaliyah had taught him what it truly meant to love and be loved in return. "So you were in love with her?" someone asked, and without hesitation he replied, "Yeah, completely." However, as their relationship flourished, the pressures of their careers began to intrude upon their personal lives. Dame recalled a pivotal moment that lingered in his memory, the last conversation he had with Aaliyah. "I didn't want her to do the video," he said, the weight of regret evident in his voice. The video she was shooting was in Miami, and despite his desire to have her stay, Aaliyah's commitment to her work was unyielding. "Yep. And I had my son and my nephews with me, and, she was very supportive," he continued. "She had always been the type to encourage those she cared about, and Dame wanted to be there for her in return. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna come down there, I'll bring the kids, make a vacation, work, the whole nine." Their history was filled with playful memories, and Dame couldn't help but chuckle at the thought of Aaliyah babysitting his children. "Yeah, it was a lot of fun with Aaliyah," he reminisced fondly. But the lightheartedness of those memories was overshadowed by the urgency of their current situation. When Aaliyah informed Dame that she had to fly to the Bahamas to finish the video, he felt a knot form in his stomach. He was desperate for her to stay. "I told her, I didn't want her to go," he admitted, his voice trailing off as he recalled the difficult conversation. "And that's kind of fudding up, 'cause that was one of the reasons why she was in such a rush to get back." Dame understood Aaliyah's need to complete her work, but the thought of her flying away filled him with dread. Even after she boarded the plane, Aaliyah's apprehension about flying was clear. So one of her last texts was, "I don't like the plane," he shared, the pain of those words cutting deep. In that moment, his protective instincts kicked in, and he found himself pleading with her. And I literally was like, "Don't get on." "Damn," he said, his voice shaking slightly. I literally was like, "Don't get on it." Reflecting on the outcome of that fateful decision, he felt a surge of guilt wash over him. And if I'd have been an asshole that day and really stood behind what I believed in, she wouldn't have got on that plane, he lamented. Those words hung heavy in the air, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating impact of choices made in moments of uncertainty. The tragic death of Aaliyah marked a profound turning point, not just for her family and friends, but for the music industry at large. She was only 22 years old, a rising star with an immense talent and a magnetic presence that captivated audiences. "Tell me about that day. Where were you?" someone asked, eager to capture the raw emotions of that fateful moment. "I was getting my hair cut, and I was waiting for her," Dame Dash recalled, his voice heavy with sorrow. "She was trying to get back really quickly because we were trying to see each other." The anticipation of their reunion hung in the air, a sweet promise of joy that would soon turn into heartbreak. Aaliyah had just been in the Bahamas shooting a music video, a project that was a testament to her artistic evolution. However, the small twin-engine Cessna she was on was about to meet a catastrophic fate. Then, just minutes after leaving the Bahamas, the plane erupted into a fiery nosedive, he said, the gravity of those words evident. In an instant, life had changed forever. Dame's phone rang, and he felt a chill run down his spine as he answered. Her mother called and said that Fatima had called and said that there was a plane crash, and Aaliyah was in it. The realization hit him like a freight train. Once I heard, I knew it was true. The world around him began to blur as the weight of the news settled in. Dame's voice trembled as he remembered the collective grief of his family that day. My cousins and I all heard it. There was like 10 of us. We were just all crying down the line. The tears flowed freely as they grappled with the shocking loss, the weight of their shared sorrow creating an unbreakable bond. Then I saw my dad, and he was just devastated, he continued, his heart aching at the memory. I actually never saw him that low. I feel like emotionally he had hit rock bottom. The pain was palpable, engulfing the room in a suffocating silence that echoed the loss of a beloved daughter, sister, and friend. Reflecting on the day, Dame admitted, "It was probably like one of the worst days we ever had." The world felt darker, and the vibrancy that Aaliyah had brought into their lives was suddenly extinguished. The grief was overwhelming, but it was also a catalyst for change. You also said that her death changed you. It turned you into a monster. He nodded, acknowledging the raw truth in his words. Yeah, it made me fearless, 'cause I know what real pain feels like, and I've dealt with it. There can't be nothing worse than that. The emotional turmoil of that day lingered long after, shaping who he would become. Dame knew he would never be the same, and he channeled that pain into a determination to keep Aaliyah's legacy alive. We actually have a video at her funeral where you're very emotional, someone prompted. Dame took a deep breath, the memories flooding back. Remember that day? He hesitated, the weight of that moment pressing heavily on his heart. I don't revisit it often because it hurts, but a lot was going on in that moment, he said, his voice trailing off. The funeral was a surreal experience, a gathering of friends, family, and fans mourning the loss of a bright star. I mean, I still had to get myself together and fight, 'cause there were things that were going on. The juxtaposition of grief and the need to maintain composure was a battle he fought internally, a fight to honor Aaliyah's memory while navigating his own emotional landscape. In the wake of Aaliyah's tragic passing, the world around Dame Dash shifted in ways he never could have anticipated. Grief was a relentless companion, one that weighed heavily on his heart. Yet just 5 months after her death, a surprising announcement from Jay-Z forced him to confront his feelings head-on. Dame barely had time to grieve when just 5 months after Aaliyah's passing, Jay-Z surprised everyone, he recalled, his voice tinged with disbelief. The news of a collaboration between Jay-Z and R. Kelly, someone whose past was marred by controversy, sent shockwaves through the industry and Dame's personal life. The proposed project, the Best of Both Worlds tour, promised an electrifying experience for fans, featuring a new album and a slew of merchandise. It was an exciting opportunity, yet it came at a cost. The thought of collaborating on an entire album with R. Kelly seemed like an exciting opportunity, Dame admitted, grappling with the dichotomy of excitement and moral conflict. But it was challenging to navigate feelings when someone you respect makes choices that don't align with your values. As he tried to process the situation, Dame reflected on how his relationship with Aaliyah had reshaped his perspective. Once I got to know Aaliyah, it changed everything for me, he stated, recognizing that her experiences had left an indelible mark on him. With this knowledge, he found himself at a crossroads, questioning how to address the situation with Jay-Z. So, if we're on good terms, and you know that I have a girl whose experience with your associate wasn't positive, and I bring it up, how would you react? That's what I was dealing with. Despite the swirling controversy surrounding R. Kelly, Jay-Z appeared to overlook the gravity of the situation. As new allegations of inappropriate conduct with an underage girl surfaced, Dame felt a growing sense of frustration. Even as new allegations surfaced, Jay seemed to overlook them, he noted, grappling with the implications of Jay-Z's choices. I mean, I wasn't there, and I acknowledge that. It's quite hard to wrap my mind around. The conflicting emotions of loyalty and disgust coursed through him. The pressure mounted as Dame wrestled with the implications of Jay-Z's decision to collaborate with someone he believed had wronged Aaliyah. Your associate, your collaborator, he challenged, emphasizing the absurdity of the situation. He wasn't my associate. Look how my colleague treated me. His disappointment was palpable. You're referring to him as my partner? Publicly, that man worked with someone who had a troubling past with my girl and then went on tour with him, he said, anger simmering beneath the surface. Yet despite his frustration, Dame felt trapped by the choices he had to make. But I had to look the other way, he admitted, acknowledging the difficult position he found himself in. Aaliyah had always valued moving forward and seeking healing in the face of adversity. And because my girl said, "Let's move on," I chose to do just that. Her words echoed in his mind, reminding him of the bond they shared and the promise he felt compelled to uphold. But as the tour approached, the weight of his emotions became increasingly burdensome. Dame couldn't break his promise to Aaliyah, but his frustration was growing. He felt the pressure of unspoken tensions, the dissonance between his loyalty to Jay-Z and his commitment to Aaliyah's memory. It was a dilemma that gnawed at him, one that forced him to confront the complexities of friendship, loyalty, and moral responsibility. Tensions within the Roc-A-Fella family were reaching a boiling point, and rumors of a growing rift between Jay-Z and Dame Dash swirled like a storm cloud over the empire they had built together. The atmosphere grew increasingly hostile as Dame struggled to navigate a landscape where loyalty and ambition began to clash. He felt the walls closing in on him when he unexpectedly found himself crashing a marketing meeting at Def Jam, the parent company that had once embraced their vision. Dame burst through the doors, fueled by frustration and a sense of betrayal. "This is treacherous," he exclaimed, his voice echoing through the sterile boardroom. The executives exchanged uneasy glances, taken aback by his sudden entrance. "You can email me, Damon. I'm telling you, I'm sick of this shit." His words were sharp, tinged with an anger that demanded to be acknowledged. "I seen all y'all yesterday. Why nobody tell me about a marketing plan about Jay-Z? How'd y'all call a meeting about Jay-Z without Roc-A-Fella? There ain't even nobody from Roc-A-Fella in here." The accusations hung in the air, thick with resentment. As the executives fumbled for a response, Dame felt his heart race. "No, we gotta reschedule, man," one of them stammered, desperately trying to defuse the situation. But that only fueled his ire. "What the fuck you mean you're gonna reschedule?" he shot back, incredulous at their audacity. "We're gonna reschedule, man. What do you mean you're gonna reschedule?" The confrontation escalated, tension crackling in the air like static electricity. "Dame!" One of the executives attempted to regain control of the situation, but his words were laced with condescension. "Yeah, get the fun out. You're not a leader. You don't know shots about my culture. You don't know shots about Jay." Those words pierced through Dame like daggers. They felt like a personal attack, a dismissal of everything he had poured into Roc-A-Fella and his friendship with Jay-Z. He had fought tooth and nail to build this empire, and now it felt as though he was being pushed to the sidelines. Dame's struggles became painfully apparent as he grappled with the impending collapse of his partnership with Jay. He was struggling to hold on to the one thing he had left, so he didn't see what was coming. The realization began to sink in that the executives surrounding him were not on his side. Their intentions were cloaked in a veneer of professionalism, but he could sense the underlying exploitation. "They don't give a fuck. That's all they do is exploit," he spat, the bitterness of betrayal coloring his words. It was a sentiment that resonated deeply with him, echoing the very essence of the music industry he had fought so hard to navigate. "They trying to take our franchise from us," Dame continued, his voice rising with urgency. "You know about the Scarface party and all that?" One of the executives shook his head, feigning ignorance. "No. Jay's performing for that?" Dame pressed, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. "Yeah, he is performing." "There you go," he said, the revelation washing over him like a cold wave. The thought that Jay would perform without him, that he would engage in business that excluded the very foundation they had built together, sent Dame reeling. The betrayal stung, and the rift between them began to feel insurmountable. As Jay-Z stepped into his new role as president and CEO of Def Jam, the landscape of hip-hop began to shift dramatically. This was not just a career move, it was a seismic change in the dynamics of Roc-A-Fella Records, and it left former partner Dame Dash grappling with the fallout. "It's not a beef, it's just growing," Jay-Z would later explain, as if trying to ease the tensions that had flared between them. "And sometimes growing means growing apart." It was a simple yet profound acknowledgement of the inevitable changes that come with success and evolution. Yet for Dame, it felt like a betrayal. Dame found himself reflecting on the nature of their relationship, the trajectory that had taken them from inseparable partners to distant acquaintances. "It's just a part of life. It's a part of growing up," Jay had said, trying to rationalize the split. But Dame struggled to see it that way. He felt abandoned, left to grapple with the ghosts of their shared past, while Jay moved confidently into a future that seemed impossibly bright. The juxtaposition of their paths was painful for Dame to witness. Jay had become a megastar, married to Beyoncé, while he felt stuck in a moment that had long since passed. The irony of the situation gnawed at him. "Do you know what's crazy about that meeting?" Dame recalled, his voice tinged with disbelief. "In my heart, I had no idea that Jay set that meeting up. But he set that meeting up." This revelation hit hard. It felt as though Jay had orchestrated his own ascension while deliberately leaving Dame in the dust. The resentment simmered beneath the surface, causing Dame to lash out more frequently. He was abrasive, a reputation that had followed him throughout his career. "Dame burned a lot of bridges," people would say, often with a hint of disdain. "I burn bridges so I don't have to go back," Dame defended himself. But it was more than just a strategy, it was a coping mechanism. He understood the risks of alienating people, yet the fear of being hurt again made him defensive. In the wake of Jay's success, Dame was left grappling with a bitter sense of loss, not just for the partnership but also for Aaliyah, the woman whose absence left a gaping hole in his heart. "I think that Dame is bitter now because Jay-Z is a fully megastar brand," someone close to him remarked. The juxtaposition of their lives was stark, and the pain of losing Aaliyah was compounded by the pressure of watching someone he once considered a brother soar to unprecedented heights. "Will you please let Aaliyah rest? Will you let her die?" was the echo in Dame's mind, a reminder of the struggles that had haunted him since her tragic passing. Despite his best efforts to move forward, the shadows of the past loomed large. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was perpetually living in Aaliyah's memory, unable to fully embrace the present. "Everything that scared me is losing people I love," he admitted, reflecting on the cumulative loss he had endured. "And everyone that I've really loved, I've lost." This recurring theme of grief had transformed him into someone who couldn't afford to let his guard down. In the wake of these losses, Dame had become more animalistic, driven by a relentless pursuit of success. So what it's made me be, the animal that I am, is that I don't want to sit down and think about the things that are hurting me, he confessed. It was a stark revelation, highlighting the defense mechanisms he had adopted to shield himself from the pain. Your secrets are about things you don't express to people, he mused, underscoring the emotional isolation he felt in the wake of his losses. The notion of confronting his feelings was daunting, yet he understood on some level that it was necessary. When it comes to feelings, you don't get to go around the feelings. You have to go through them, Dame recognized, even as he grappled with the question of how. The complexities of his emotions weighed heavily on him, and the path to healing felt insurmountable. He watched as Jay moved forward with his life, building a legacy that was both admirable and painful for him to witness. In the silence of his own thoughts, Dame wrestled with his own demons, seeking a way to reconcile his past with the uncertain future that lay ahead. When the documentary Surviving R. Kelly premiered, it was like a tsunami crashing over the music industry, exposing the dark underbelly of an artist who had been allowed to operate in plain sight for far too long. For Dame Dash, the documentary was a painful reminder of the turmoil that had engulfed not just Aaliyah, but many young women who had fallen victim to R. Kelly's manipulations. Allegations made by over a dozen women painted a horrific picture, claims of captivity, brainwashing, and abuse. The seriousness of the accusations escalated when prosecutors revealed that 3 of R. Kelly's alleged victims were minors. As the revelations unfolded on screen, Dame was confronted with the raw emotions he had long buried. "I think I can't really talk about being abused," he admitted, his voice heavy with sorrow. "It's like it brings back memories, and it's very painful to have to talk about it again." Each claim brought back flashes of the past, memories that he had tried so hard to suppress. Aaliyah's experiences with R. Kelly loomed large in his mind, and the weight of their shared history made the documentary's content even more unbearable to digest. He wished for the family of Aaliyah to speak out publicly, to lend their voices to the growing chorus of those seeking justice and healing. "I think there are so many young black girls who've been hurt, that what it would mean to know that Aaliyah was hurt that way too," he expressed, the urgency in his tone clear. The implications of the documentary were far-reaching. It wasn't just about R. Kelly. It was about the broader culture that had enabled his predatory behavior for decades. Dame reflected on the silence that often surrounded these stories, particularly within the black community, where the trauma was compounded by systemic issues and a reluctance to confront uncomfortable truths. "I can't stress to you enough how people are still suffering behind things that went on 20 years ago," he said, conveying a sense of urgency and importance in the conversation that needed to happen. The documentary, while painful, was a necessary step toward breaking that silence and addressing the trauma that had persisted for far too long. As he watched parts of the documentary, he felt a deep sense of empathy for the women who bravely shared their stories, recalling a particular scene where one girl struggled to articulate her pain. "There was a girl, and when she was even trying to talk about it, she couldn't," he recalled. The image struck a chord, bringing back memories of Aaliyah herself, who had tried to address the darkness surrounding her relationship with R. Kelly. "And I remember Aaliyah trying to talk about it, and she couldn't," he said, the emotion evident in his voice. The release of the documentary Surviving R. Kelly brought a long-hidden reality into the light, a reality that had been shrouded in silence and denial for decades. The music industry, in many ways, had been complicit in enabling R. Kelly, and the documentary forced those who had turned a blind eye to confront their role in the system that protected him. Dream Hampton, the executive producer of the documentary, was clear in her message. "The music industry is still protecting the R&B star. For too long, the industry had looked the other way, allowing R. Kelly's fame and talent to shield him from accountability. Hampton's words resonated with Dame Dash, who had known firsthand the damage that had been done to those closest to R. Kelly. Dame Dash, the former boyfriend of Aaliyah, one of Kelly's most high-profile victims, had stayed silent for years about the pain he carried. But the release of the documentary made it impossible for him to stay silent any longer. Everyone has all these morals and principles, but when it behooves them, they look the other way, and I'm not cool with that, Dame said, his frustration evident. He had seen the cost of looking the other way, not just for Aaliyah, but for the countless other young women who had suffered under Kelly's control. For Dame, this wasn't just a matter of speaking out. It was about reclaiming a sense of honor that had been lost in the industry's willingness to ignore Kelly's abuse. The test of honor isn't convenient, Dame said. Honor is when it's inconvenient. These words hit home for Dame, who realized that confronting his own pain and the industry's complicity in R. Kelly's behavior was not going to be easy. It meant revisiting the trauma of losing Aaliyah and acknowledging the ways in which he too had been part of an industry that had protected Kelly. But for Dame, the time had come to face that pain and do what was right. Aaliyah's death had left a profound mark on Dame, but her relationship with R. Kelly had also left scars that would never fully heal. If people would have protected Aaliyah, so many other girls wouldn't have got touched, Dame said, his voice filled with a mix of sorrow and determination. In his eyes, Aaliyah had been the sacrificial lamb for all the abuse that followed. Her story was not just about a young girl who had been taken advantage of. It was about an entire system that had failed to protect her and others like her. Dame knew that Aaliyah didn't deserve what had happened to her, and he couldn't help but wonder how many lives could have been spared if the industry had acted sooner. For Dame, this wasn't just about anger or seeking revenge. It was about channeling that energy into creating meaningful change. This energy isn't anger. This is energy for change, he explained. He wanted to use his platform to advocate for a new way of thinking about trauma and healing. I want to change the way we look at rehabilitation from trauma, which is a prison. I want to change the way we heal. After 2 decades of relentless struggle, Dame Dash's fight for justice for Aaliyah finally saw its resolution. In 2022, R. Kelly, the disgraced R&B singer, was sentenced to 30 years in prison after being convicted of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. It was a monumental moment for the countless victims who had suffered under Kelly's control, and for those, like Aaliyah, whose voices had long been silenced by an industry that turned a blind eye to the truth. For Dame, this moment wasn't just about retribution for the harm Kelly caused. It was about finally bringing some semblance of justice to Aaliyah's legacy and the legacy of the other survivors. It was a chapter that had taken far too long to close, but now, with Kelly behind bars, the world could no longer deny what had been hidden in plain sight for years. The sentencing was a significant outcome, not just for those who had bravely come forward in the surviving R. Kelly documentary, but also for the larger community of survivors whose stories had been ignored for far too long. It was a validation of their pain, an acknowledgement that the horrors they endured would no longer be tolerated. For Dame, it was deeply personal. His love for Aaliyah had never wavered, even after her tragic death in 2001. He had carried the weight of her trauma with him, often grappling with the fact that the man who had hurt her continued to thrive in an industry that had protected him for years. But Dame's fight wasn't just about justice for Aaliyah. It was also about building something meaningful from her memory. Aaliyah's lessons, her grace, her strength, and her resilience were what Dame clung to as he moved forward. In many ways, those lessons helped shape the legacy that mattered most to him. "What do you want to be remembered as, man?" he was once asked. His response was simple yet powerful. "As a warrior, I fight for what I love." That warrior spirit had defined Dame throughout his life. Whether it was his tireless efforts to build Roc-A-Fella Records alongside Jay-Z or his unwavering commitment to honor Aaliyah's memory, Dame had always fought for what he believed in. But as he moved forward, his focus began to shift. While his younger years had been marked by the pursuit of success and wealth, his priorities changed as he grew older. What mattered now wasn't the yachts, the champagne, or the lavish lifestyle that came with being a music mogul. What mattered was building a legacy of healing, love, and family. Dame's evolution was clear in his newest ventures. He launched his own streaming platform, focused on health and healing, a reflection of the personal journey he had undertaken after years of pain and loss. His entrepreneurial spirit remained as strong as ever, but now it was fueled by a desire to help others heal from their own traumas, just as he had worked to heal from his. The platform aimed to create a space for people to explore wellness, mental health, and personal growth, drawing on Dame's own experiences and the lessons he had learned from Aaliyah. At the same time, Dame was entering a new chapter in his personal life. He and his fiancée, Raquel Horn, were expecting a baby together, a joyful milestone that brought a new sense of purpose to Dame's life. The arrival of a new child was a reminder of what truly mattered: family, love, and the simple joys of life. "I saw all the things I was missing," Dame said, reflecting on the shift in his priorities. "So, what did you think I'd rather do? Be on a yacht, pouring champagne on a girl, or taking my daughter to get a cupcake?" For Dame, the answer was obvious. There was nothing better than watching his child smile than sharing those small, beautiful moments that made life worth living. "There's nothing better than taking your daughter to get a cupcake, There's nothing better than watching your baby smile," he said, his voice filled with the kind of peace that had eluded him for so long. What do you think about Dame Dash's revelations? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.